I'm not sitting with my head in my hands right now. I don't care where you've been. No, I ain't watching the clock, getting my phone out. I won't drink myself to sleep. Oh, you don't get under my skin no more. No, it's gone, it's gone. I ain't thinking about you no more. I found a way to let you go, so you don't have to stay now. A broken mind, I came close, but you can't rip my heart out. I'm giving up, I'm giving up, I'll give you up. I found a way to let you go. It's gonna rip your heart out. Got your picture covering up the cracks on the wall, but the lines won't fade. Didn't think that I would be missing you at all. Maybe that was my mistake. Oh, you don't get under my skin no more. No, it's gone, it's gone. I ain't thinking about you no more. I found a way to let you go, so you don't have to stay now. A broken mind, I came close, but you can't rip my heart out. I'm giving up, I'm giving up, I'll give you up. I found a way to let you go. It's gonna rip your heart out. Nothing you say will change my mind. You couldn't wait to leave me behind. Nothing you say will change my mind. You couldn't wait to leave me behind. Nothing you say will change my mind. You couldn't wait to leave me behind. I found a way to let you go, so you don't have to stay there. A broken mind, I came close, but you can't rip my heart out. I'm giving up, I'm giving up, I'll give you up. I found a way to let you go. It's gonna rip your heart out.
Hey guys, happy Wednesday. I've been crazy busy lately, but I am sure most of you are also busy. Hopefully staying safe. Today's video is simply for me to show you, the movement of the speaker placement. Right now the speakers are a little closer together than they were before. The Sashas, of course, are off to the sides, as you see. For now, they're on a break, on timeout, as my wife says. And right now, it has been a very interesting experience living with the Magnepan 3.7s for many reasons. Number one, I have never heard a speaker that sounds so engaging, so emotional, so soulful. It's full of soul. That's the best way to describe it. Is it a perfect speaker? I've mentioned there's no such thing as a perfect speaker. I do believe that the Magnepan 3.7i is definitely a steal for the MSRP that these speakers are. I know some of you guys have reservations about the size of the speaker. They feel it's a little too large for your environment or too ugly, depending on who you ask. I personally don't think it's an ugly speaker. I actually get a lot more criticism for the Wilsons, to be honest with you, than I do for this speaker. A lot of people who have seen my systems, especially women, they don't have any love for the Wilson audio design. I must say that every time I've had people come over, Not many women like that carpet on the Wilson on the front of the woofers. You almost have to put the covers, the grills on the speaker, because it's not a very pretty looking speaker, according to a lot of women. I'm not gonna say I hate it or love it. The design of the Wilsons, I'm gonna say, it's what it is. It's they're staying true to what has always worked for them in terms of the design, and that's fine. But the Magnepans, in my opinion, are not an ugly speaker. I think it depends on the color scheme that you get and the materials that you use. I think black on black is great. I also think silver and black looks great. It's not a speaker that really doesn't have anything per se ugly that you can say. I mean, unless you buy them in those hideous colors that I've seen them, of course. But for the most part, it's not an ugly speaker. It is very imposing, but it is not a deep speaker, and I think that's a huge plus. It isn't as deep as my Neoliths. It isn't as deep as the 15As, Martin Logans that I had before. It isn't a speaker that needs to have a very clunky cabinet. So it's easy to maneuver them, by the way. I mean, you guys don't think they're not very heavy. So you can move them. One person can move them easily. I mean, it's a very easy speaker to move. When you're not using them, if you want to put them up against the wall, it's literally seconds, guys. It doesn't take a lot of work to move them around. But aside from that, what does this speaker do? This speaker does a huge, it's almost like a surround sound effect due to the dipole nature of the speaker. It also has a big sound stage. At times I do feel that my mic is almost clipping because of the amount of energy in the room. And it's something that I have never experienced before. When I put these speakers farther back, even without moving my volume control, right, it stays at the same dB. And that's called power frequency. Power response is what I believe Magnepan calls that, which is basically that you have the same loudness regardless of where you are in the room. And I really like that because I don't really have to crank it up louder and tax my amplifier even more as I get farther and farther away from the speaker. I thought that's pretty cool. I like the mid-range. I am not going to lie. It's not there yet, but you can definitely spot, a diamond in the rough. When it comes to the mids, I believe this speaker is world class. Some of the best mids I've ever heard from a speaker. It is never fatiguing. This speaker does not have any sort of fatigue whatsoever. If there's any fatigue, I am going to say it could be maybe a cable. It could be that it needs to be broken in. It needs more playtime. Maybe even the positioning. But the speaker is not a bright speaker at all. Smooth. And the biggest thing I would say so far about the 3.7 that really jumps at me is the speed. It's a very fast sounding speaker. It is by far the fastest sounding speaker I've ever owned. Yes, it is faster than my Wilson Audio DAW. There's no question about that. It almost feels like the song is playing at a faster pace all the time. And some songs you can actually detect that more than others. The one thing I will say is this speaker, I have seen it online on different YouTube videos. I have seen it at Expona 2019. I heard him there. And I always get the feeling, guys, that anytime this speaker is showcased, they never really have top-end components. They always have, Brystons. Nothing wrong with them by any means. I'm not criticizing the amplification they use. I'm just saying they have the Brystons. They have, the Pass Labs, Hagel, I've heard it in some cases. So, and my reviews will come about a lot of those brands pretty soon. But I don't consider those, top of the top amplifiers. I just don't consider them that. I consider them great amplifiers, but they're not at the level of the Griffins and the Constellations, the Momentums. They're not at that level. I can tell you that right now. They're not. Now, of course, if we're talking past XS, 300, that's a different story. But anyhow, a lot of people who buy Magnepans always buy the more affordable, if you want to call affordable, Bryston's 28B SST3s, which are not They buy, for the most part, components that are not ultra expensive, and that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take on a different path. I am going to go a different path. I'm going to basically try some of the best stuff out there that I can get my hands on and use Maggie's to see how far I can go with these speakers, to see how much better they can get. There are a lot of tweaks that I'll need to get, the My stands being one of them. I've heard about some orange synergistic research fuses. I also heard about jumpers. I've heard about a lot of different things. But right now, I'm not going to do that because I really need to get connected with the speaker. I need to understand what the speaker does by itself without any help. I need to see where it takes me before I begin to change things around. I am not in a position to really give you a final verdict as far as what the speaker is for me, but what I can tell you, it is a diamond in the rough. I feel completely submerged in the presentation, even though at times I do hear things that are still not correct, if that makes any sense. There are things that occasionally jump at me as, okay, that string didn't sound right, or that vocal was a little off or congested, or at times I hear that. But I think it's because the speaker is going through the breaking period where it needs to be just completely broken in. The panel is still probably needing to a few more 100 hours, I would say, of playtime before we can gauge it. In addition to that, guys, I wanted to say that I have been using the Momentum S250. What you heard right now was the Momentum S250, and it is a great amplifier. Of course it is. But I did briefly connect the Coliseum Griffin, and it is a better presentation with the Coliseum. I think the massive current of the Coliseum is really lighting these panels like a Christmas tree. It really is doing a lot more justice to the speaker's presentation. There's a lot more width. There's a lot more depth with the Griffin. But I think it's also because of the current and the design of the Griffin. I think it's very good for Magnepans. As I am sure Past Labs, Class A amps are. I'm still a little iffy about Class AB amplification with the speakers. I am not sure that Class AB is the right amplification for the speaker. Granted, I've only used the Momentum, so I don't want to jump and to conclusions just yet. Only one amplifier I've used. It's a great amplifier, but I don't know if it has the current that a Class A design has. I believe Class A designs have that much more current and needed to flow from the bottom of the panel all the way to the top. I feel like it's just more massive. The electricity, the power, everything about the Class A design just helps the panels. I also will say it is the very first time that I can certainly differentiate between a Class A design and a Class AB. I think the speaker lets you clearly hear the differences between both designs. I am not sure other speakers are as clear at letting you hear the differences between both designs, but this speaker definitely lets you hear. It's a very drastic change when you go from a Class AB to a Class A amplifier with this speaker. And I thought that was pretty cool to be able to hear such a tremendous amount of information and drive that the speaker has when you put the right Class A amplification behind it. What you heard this time is the Anzus XLR, by the way. You didn't hear the Valhalla 2 XLR coming from the preamplifier. I wanted to just change it up a bit. As I said, I'm still playing with cables. There is a lot that I need to do. And the positioning right now, they are about 10 feet away from me, I would say, and they're about 6 feet apart, which is the ratio that they explain should be done or used as a starting point on the website, Magnepan website. And that's what I started to do. I am sure they're probably going to move a little more, either to the sides or closer together. But I like where they are as far as the distance from me. I really do. I think that the speaker, if you see it, I'm going to show you what the speaker can do. Let me see if I can just see that. So you have an idea, right? That way you have an understanding of how far it is. Pretty nice, right? It doesn't seem to be very in your face. I just like to zoom in for the purpose of this video, but I am not. I'm far, I would say. So speaker fits perfectly. I did hear a pair of 20.7s over the weekend. It was very impressive what I heard. It was really, really an incredible amount of more meat on the bones, bigger everything. And I am willing to say that, and I hate to say it because I don't like saying things when I haven't owned something and I haven't played with it and I haven't really sat with it to give you my impressions. But I'm going to say that I find the 20.7, based on what I heard, a hell of a lot better. I mean, that's, and I don't know how else to put it out there. I can't sugarcoat it. I heard a 20.7 very briefly with components that are not at the level of what I have, actually less, you know, cables that are not at the level that what I have, and it sounded amazing. I can say this to you. It really blew my mind, the 20.7. So, but right now I'm going to focus on the 3.7 ice and be able to just give them a fair opportunity. As you know, they'll eventually be up for sale. Like other things will be up for sale, because I believe that if I decide to continue with the 3.7 ice, there is one thing you guys need to remember, guys. I cannot review low powered amplifiers with the 3.7 ice. Guys, you cannot do that with this speaker. If I want to review more amplifiers for you guys, it's very hard to do that with a Magnepan. Why do I say that? They need a lot of current. You need serious amplifiers for this speaker. I can't show up over here with a Passlabs XA25. I can't show up with a Passlabs 60.8. All right, it literally will. It'll probably just shut down. I mean, it just doesn't handle a speaker like this very well. All right, and if you don't believe me and you think if you're using a 60.8 or you're using an XA25 or a baby amplifier on your 3.7 ice, just try a Griffin and then you let me know what you hear. All right, or a pure Class A amplifier and let me know what you hear. It's a huge difference. So if I'm going to review amplifiers like, let's say, a Luxman 900U going forward, or amplifiers that are or that power, that wattage, right? I can't do it on a Magnepan. Okay, I can't do it, guys. It's not gonna work. Magnepan will be great for big boys, for the big boys, big leagues, the Constellations, the Momentum monoblocks, the Block Audios, the big Passlabs. That's what this is for. Then we can have a lot of fun. Maybe, who knows? Maybe I do that. Maybe I keep a speaker for just the big heavy hitters, and then I keep a more efficient speaker for the other amplifiers, that I can review more of a normal wattage kind of amplifier. So that's kind of what's on my head right now. Many more things to come. This Friday, I will have the Merrill Audio 118s in the house, and I will probably not use the 3.7 ice because they are still going through the motions. As I said, they are very, very moody right now. One day they'll blow my mind, and then the next day I'm finding a little bit of a congestion. What you heard right now, I thought is actually an improvement over the last video. I think you guys will agree with that. And so they're getting there. And so I think I'm just going to do a Merrill Audio shootout of the Merrill Audio 118s with the matching Merrill Audio Christine preamplifier and the DAWs against, should I say this? Let me see. All right, I'll say it. This is what I'm thinking. I hope I can put it all together by Friday. I want to do a shootout, full Merrill setup with the preamplifier against the full Momentum setup. How do you guys like that? It's going to be very interesting, right? So stay tuned for that. I think it's going to happen. If I am able to do it Friday, I can't promise it, but if I do it, it'll be Friday. Or if I can't do it because I feel that maybe the Merrill Audios need time to warm up, which I have been advised that I need to give them time. Then I may just do my third amplifier review in the form of the, let's do the Griffin. How about that? I may just do the Griffin amplifier. So you guys see where I rate my Griffin Coliseum on Friday. So it'll be one or the other. But it's going to be an interesting video no matter what, okay? I always like to pump out a nice video Friday night so you guys have fun over the weekend and can watch it and enjoy it. Thank you for tonight, guys, and stay tuned for more. Please subscribe.